8-year-old Emily Carter stood trembling on a small wooden stool in the dim kitchen of their rented house. Her small hands were red and raw, hovering over the old metal sink as steam rose from the faucet. The hot water hissed as it struck the steel basin, fogging the cracked window above. Behind her stood Linda Carter, arms folded, her expression hard as stone. "Wash them properly," she snapped. "You barely clean anything." Emily swallowed. I can't. The water's too hot." Linda twisted the valve slightly, only making the steam grow thicker. "Stop lying and scrub." Emily dipped her hands in. The pain shot instantly through her fingers. She gasped and pulled them back. Tears streamed down her face, but Linda remained unmoved. "Stop the drama," she said coldly. Emily had only lived with Linda for 2 months, ever since her father Michael Carter had been transferred overseas for work and couldn't take her with him. At first Linda pretended kindness. But once Michael left, the warmth disappeared. Every mistake became an excuse for punishment. Washing dishes with scalding water, cleaning floors on her knees, standing silently in corners when she cried too loudly. Emily bit her lip, dipping her hands back into the sink, holding them there as long as she could. Her fingers burned. Pain made her sob silently. She dared not scream anymore. She had learned the silence was safer. Linda leaned against the wall, scrolling on her phone. "Hurry up. You'll make us late." Emily scrubbed faster, shoulders shaking. She remembered how her father used to let her use cool water and soap bubbles. He would joke that dishes liked being cleaned gently, not boiled. She wondered when he would come home. She didn't know the date. Only that it felt too far away. She finished the dishes at last, turning away from the sink with blistered fingers pressed to her chest. Linda glanced back. "Dry the counter next?" Emily nodded weakly. She reached for a towel when a sound made her freeze, the low rumble of a vehicle outside. The front door unlocked. Linda stiffened. Footsteps crossed the porch. Emily felt her heart leap as a familiar voice called out, "I'm home." The door opened fully and Michael Carter stepped inside, travel bag slung over his shoulder. Dust marked his boots, and exhaustion lined his face, but his eyes brightened when he saw Emily. "Hey, sweetheart," he smiled. Emily froze. Her towel slipped from her hands. She tried to respond, but only a small whisper came out. Linda rushed forward, suddenly cheerful. "Michael! You weren't supposed to be back until next week." Michael frowned slightly. "Plans changed. I wanted to surprise you both." He knelt and hugged Emily gently. She flinched when his arms brushed her hands. Michael noticed immediately. Are you okay?" She hesitated, fear flickering across her face. She glanced toward Linda. Linda smiled tightly. "She just finished helping me with dishes. You know how dramatic kids are." Michael lifted Emily's hands slowly. What he saw made his blood turn cold, blistered fingertips, redness spreading up her arms, faint welts near her wrists. "What happened to her?" he asked, voice sharpening. Linda shrugged. "She exaggerates. Probably sensitive skin." Emily finally whispered. "The water was too hot." Michael stared at Linda. The room fell silent. Steam still fogged the air. The faucet ran, still scalding. Michael walked to the sink, ran the water across his own hand, and instantly recoiled. "This is boiling." Linda shifted uneasily. "She needs discipline. She never listens." Michael knelt again, gathering Emily into his arms. His voice was barely contained. "This isn't discipline. This is cruelty." Emily buried her face into his jacket and cried for the first time in weeks. Michael stroked her hair, rocking her gently before standing. "Go pack your backpack, Em. We're leaving for a little while." Linda snapped. "You can't just take her." He cut her off. "I absolutely can." Emily ran to her room as Michael stood firm, his eyes locked on Linda. "You crossed a line." Linda's mask slipped away. Anger twisted her features. But she said nothing. Michael knelt back beside Emily minutes later, as she shoved clothes into her bag. He carefully wrapped her hands with first aid from his kit. "I'm sorry I wasn't here," he whispered. Emily shook her head. "I didn't want to make you sad." Michael closed his eyes. "I should have been here anyway." They left the house without looking back. The night air was cool as Michael drove Emily toward the emergency clinic. She sat quietly in the passenger seat, hands bandaged, staring out the window at passing lights. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe, yet unsure how to relax. "You don't have to be brave anymore," Michael said softly. Emily's lip trembled. "I didn't cry because she said crying meant punishment." Michael gripped the steering wheel tightly. "No one ever has the right to scare you into silence." She finally cried, deep, shaking sobs. At the clinic, nurses examined her burns. Thankfully, they were mild surface injuries that would heal, though painful for several days. Michael stayed beside her the entire. Michael didn't return Emily to Linda's care. He contacted attorneys and child protection officials immediately. Photographs documented Emily's injuries. Statements were taken. Investigations began. Emily stayed with Michael's sister while the legal process unfolded. She attended counseling sessions where she slowly learned to express fear instead of hiding it. Michael attended each meeting, never leaving her side. Over weeks, Linda was found responsible for abuse. Custody was permanently returned to Michael, ensuring Emily would never face her again. Michael brought Emily home to his own small apartment, filled with plants, open windows, and gentle music. Her hands healed. Her laughter slowly returned. One evening, months later, Michael stood beside Emily in their new bright kitchen. He turned on the sink and carefully tested the water, adjusting it to perfect warmth before letting her wash paint off her hands from art class. "Is it good?" he asked gently. Emily smiled shyly. "It's warm. Not scary." Michael smiled back. From then on, checking water temperature became their small tradition, a reminder that pain should never be confused with discipline. Emily grew confident again. She laughed more. She stopped flinching at loud voices. Most of all, she knew one thing with certainty: she was safe.